fucking awesome. You know the words. It's gonna be fucking awesome. This hits me. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Yeah! It's my favorite part.
Hey there, hi there, ho there, how you doing? I'm not on the microphone, so it might be hard to hear me. I'm drinking tea. Deal with it. My teeth hurt. I've had teeth pain, terrible teeth pain. I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Care Bear Scare out to everybody. I'm a little behind this on my shows because I've been doing the live streams this week, and it's just like added a whole bunch more little things to my life than aggravating me because of my stupid teeth. So sorry about that, but I'm going to get all of those episodes out really soon. And I'm excited to talk today about like what I want to talk about. As I've been saying, you know, I wanted to get away from like being a part of the mob, nitpicking all of the stupid decisions that Hollywood has made. I think that we can all agree they make a lot of stupid decisions, and you know, the patterning in what they're doing has become very obvious. And when patterns are really obvious in the things that you're making, it just ruins the things that you're making. And you know, it's gotten difficult in this landscape to find great things, greatness. You know, and I think more than ever, it behooves us to passionately follow the creators that we love and really, you know, get their backs. I mean, all of my best enjoyment as like a creative person and a person who loves movies and loves books and video games has all been from following creatives that I like, you know, people that are clearly getting it and doing something right. And you will see that they do it right over and over and over again. And hey, everybody, thank you so much for the people who come down to the live stream. I will hang out after like the regular show is over to like say hello and everything after I wrap up like the main show, little podcast or whatever. But just because like I don't want to bog it down for people who are listening to the podcast, because that's what we've been doing now for 102 episodes. And let me put my volume off too so that doesn't get in the way. Anyway, being a loyal reader and a loyal watcher, somebody who recognizes that a talented person is not like a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing. They could probably do it again. And, you know, I thought for you guys, and I don't know, I had somebody say to me recently that like I should expound on some of the concepts that I will talk about in a heartbeat at greater length. And this is kind of what I'm going to be doing here. I'm going to beat a little bit of a dead horse, but just so that you can see what can come of following the people you know you already love. You know, it can be a bit of a hassle, you know, giving all these new things a chance, you know, whatever else. And the Hollywood system is constantly promoting you things, you know, very aggressively, telling you that things are going to be great. And so often those things are disappointing. But if you can hone in on the creative people that you really like and just follow them around, you know, you win. You know, my father's a great case in point. Like, you know, nothing ever came of the bands that he had after Twisted Sister, but people who were savvy to how cool the music was. Like my friend Dave Marfield, his email address was The Iron Road, which was one of my favorite songs off of Widowmaker's second album, Stand By for Pain, which is so good. But unfortunately, it wasn't promoted by the system. The system didn't lift it up. And there wasn't really any fanfare or anything, even though the people who know that material love that material. It's a great band, and everything about it was really positive. And it showed me very early on what can fall through the cracks. How, I mean, like the biggest bands, like, you know, they put out an album, but the label doesn't support it. Nobody ever knows it happens unless you're following along. And you can always guarantee yourself a pretty steady stream of great shit if you're able to become savvy to like really what you like and follow creators into the earth. The first one for me, of course, is Jim Henson and the Muppets. I love the Muppets. And I think very quickly, you know, well, that's also Sesame Street and Fraggle Rock. And, you know, has he done anything else? You know, and of course he has. And, you know, and my mom would always be looking for like VHSs for me when I was young for that stuff. And then when I became like a teenager and I was more of a geek about this stuff, I had a dude named Kermie Clown, something or other, who I would correspond with on email. And I would send him like enough money for postage and stuff. And he would send me tons of old Jim Henson material. And I got to watch that stuff. And the coolest thing about following somebody's career is just you learn so much more from it. You learn so much more about yourself and what you like, and you know you can encapsulate what it is that feels magical to you. That's something Jim Henson's worked on, and everybody else as time went on. So Jim Henson was an early one for me, but there was so many more thereafter. I told you my teeth are a little bit. I'm probably from the right, so occasionally I'm gonna just take a quick sip of something so that I can calm them down. They're like overly stated. I'm working on getting it taken care of, but it's bad timing for me. Pretty lot of business. It's like bad timing. But working on it. So, some of the next ones for me were comedy. My father got me so many like great comedic people, you know, Mel Brooks, and I wanted to watch every Mel Brooks movie ever made. Monty Python, I want to see every Monty Python movie ever made. It even eventually got me into a great show called Fawlty Towers because I was the biggest fan of John Cleese in Monty Python, and he's a brilliant writer. And Fawlty Towers is amazing. If you've never seen Fawlty Towers, hold up for tonight. Go enjoy Fawlty Towers. Great stuff. Watch the episode about the Germans. That's like the best one. But I mean, like they're all great. And it's one of my favorite shows of all time. And I never would have engaged with it unless I went deeper and I went, what else have these guys done? There's also a movie called The Fish Called Wanda, Fierce Creatures, that is written by Michael Palin, I believe. Kevin Kline's in it. And that was because I was interested in Michael Palin. I really liked him as well. You know, just in standouts for me of like the Pythons. I was wondering if they did more. And that's the thing. You know, when you see something that you really like, wonder, did they do more? Because this industry, it desperately doesn't want to lift anybody up. It really doesn't. Like, it happens by accident to some people. And the industry is always sort of like begrudgingly like, oh, well, people really seem to like him, so I guess we'll pretend like he has power. Because everything is run like the creative people have absolutely no power, no say, no hand. So it behooves you, you know, if you don't want to be at the mercy of whether or not the system decides that somebody's good at the moment, and the system has no taste. The system is just doing things based on a number of arbitrary concerns that they may have at any given time. And, you know, you don't want to be beholden to the system. So the best thing for you to do is notice it when you really like something. And I noticed Monty Python, I noticed Mel Brooks. I'm trying to think some of the other ones that, you know, I noticed. I mean, you know, because I went into stand-up, you know, years later. So Three Amigos was a movie that, you know, I really loved. And that got me into Steve Martin's stand-up, which was really great. You know, it's just a very unique stand-up experience, really awesome. And, you know, and then getting into stand-up and just trying to, like, you know, get into a person here, a person there, got me into various movies. Oh, let me see. Like, they were some movie at the time or whatever. And, you know, there was so much, you know, like, so like comedy, was the beginning for me of just like trying to follow the people that I really like, you know. And nowadays it's, you know, Trey Parker and Matt Stone and, you know, the guys who produced Rick and Morty. And, you know, like I see greatness in, you know, what they're doing. You know, the producer of SpongeBob, you know, there's lots of wonderful, brilliant, creative people who you can keep an eye on, because they do end up in more things than just that one thing that might be highly promoted and, you know, sought after by the mainstream. And, you know, really that's what being a geek is. And, you know, a lot of people get like stuck in one area or whatever because they're like afraid to explore certain things. But it's just so easy to look at somebody's, you know, Wikipedia and IMDb page, and then there's a comic Vine that has every comic book that they've ever written and whatnot. And that's one of the next ones for me, you know, comic books. Or actually, you know, before comic books, I'll talk real quick because I talked about this on the William Goldman show. But William Goldman was a writer who The Princess Bride was my favorite movie of all time. And then I read the book. And the book was fucking awesome. And the book was so great. I liked it so much better than the movie that I was like, I want to read this guy's other books. And I went out and I bought, like, it wasn't easy at that time. There's no Amazon or whatever. I'm 41, so, you know, it was when I was younger. And I had to go out like to a whole bunch of different libraries over time, and like I slowly accumulated a bunch of books of William Goldman, and that was the beginning of me reading. Found a writer, because I really didn't like most of the writers. I like Shakespeare. I got into Shakespeare pretty good. I think people just got hung up sometimes on like not understanding things. And if you just kind of move ahead, you can eventually kind of figure out everything that's going on. And there's a lot of really cool things going on in Shakespeare. You know, the lyricality of it, rhythm of the language, and I like Shakespeare. So I know some people struggle with that one, but Shakespeare was like an early one for me. But I didn't really generally like a lot of the books that were assigned in school. I just thought they were boring as hell. Just like really couldn't stand it. You know, Shakespeare was the only thing that I kind of. I like Beowulf a lot when he fights Grendel. It's a good one. I remember I liked. I mean, Mice and Men's okay. I mean, there's some that are okay. I just didn't care. It was just so boring to me. You know, comic books were really my salvation, but William Goldman was the first writer like who wrote novels that I could really read. I did read The Hobbit earlier on, and then I tried to read Lord of the Rings, but I've been reading Lord of the Rings now. Just started a few months ago, as I've been talking about. So William Goldman, though, as it turned out, was this incredible writer who had won Oscars for writing, won an Oscar for All the President's Men. It was a best adaptation from another novel. Great movie, Robert Redford, Dustin Hoffman, awesome one. And had also won an Oscar for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which is another awesome movie and a great adaptation of real life, even though it's best original screenplay. And he took plenty of liberties with it. He read about these guys and he just found them very compelling. And he made a movie about Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And won an Oscar. And it's awesome. The only thing in the movie that is a bit weird is there's this Burt Bacharach music interlude, like halfway through the movie, that comes along and you're like, what the fuck is going on right now? But other than that, the movie's quite cool. It still holds up. It's very awesome. And he was responsible for a ton of great movies. Marathon Man, I talk about it on the show. There's a William Goldman show where I get into like all the movies of his that are out. There's tons. Great horror movies and thrillers, and The Princess Bride, you know, kind of stands alone as its own separate thing. But he's an amazing writer who's not up his own ass, which a lot of writing I just can't get behind, because I just feel like the narrator, you know, the person putting pen to paper is a dick. I'm just like, this guy's a dick. He's talking down to me. I'm like, fuck him. You know, Stephen King is somebody who doesn't talk down to his readers. You know, there's plenty who don't. Mark Twain's another person who doesn't talk down to his readers. There's plenty of good things that I've been able to read, you know, now over the years. But the stuff that was assigned to me in school, I always felt was just like the pits, just the pits of hell. I'm like, except Shakespeare. I like Shakespeare. Everything else fucking sucked for the most part. But William Goldman was amazing, and literally, I just went, I love this one book. What else has he written? You know, and there are other people I've done that with as well. Oh, and that taught me how to be a better writer too, because he had written a lot of books on writing that were great, dream books, and different things on just the business of being in the entertainment business. He made me not want to be in the entertainment business, it's just, which is why I picked comics, probably one of the reasons. I was like, screw this head too business. It sounds like it's the pits. I don't want to do any of this shit. But William Goldman's amazing. I highly recommend him for people who want to read. And also Barry, what's his name? Barry something. Blanking out. He wrote David Barry. He's a humorist, they call him. He's written tons of articles for, like, I don't remember what publication, but he did a book called Big Trouble that they made a movie of that was not even close to as good as the book. The book is fucking hysterical. I've read it twice because it's just, like, I've never read a book that was so damn humorous. The whole thing, just like scenario after scenario after scenario in the book is like freaking amazing. Very kind of Guy Ritchie-like or whatever. But I won't get into movies yet. Guy Ritchie, Elmore Leonard, like, fused together. Very, very good, the David Barry stuff. I was very impressed. I need to look him up and see if he's written anything recently, because I'd love to read it. He's great. He hadn't really read it. It was his first book of fiction, actually. I think he was working on the second one that I started reading. I didn't like as much. So, talking about comic books, for me, like, to get into comic books, really, I read exclusively The Savage Dragon for a very long time. Eric Larson's Savage Dragon. And occasionally Eric has done other work, and I have always followed and checked out different things he's done. Some of these things have been wonderful, some of them not so much. You know, sometimes these things happen, but the thing when you're following artists that you like is you like them. You know, so, like, you'll end up sort of enjoying or getting something out of following an artist, even when they're a little less interesting than you want them to be. Later, I was working at 7-Eleven, and I had heard that Deadpool was very funny. And I started reading in the bathroom and putting it back. Sorry. I wasn't really going anyway. I was just, sitting, reading a comic for my little break. But I really enjoyed Joe Kelly's Deadpool. Joe Kelly was the writer. I followed Joe Kelly as a writer thereafter. One of the main reasons why I decided to get this package that got me into comics was because it was 2 issues of the X-Men. One of them was written by Joe Kelly, and the other by Steve Siegel, who I've never heard of, but whatever. And then there's these 4 books of the Marvel Knights. It was Daredevil, it was the Punisher, and it was the Inhumans, and it was Black Panther. And I really liked all those characters. I liked Daredevil a lot. My dad was a big Daredevil fan, and I liked what I'd heard about him. I really liked Black Panther a lot. I really liked what I understood about him and King. I just thought it was really interesting. I really liked. I always felt like the Black Panther was one of the most, like, regal animals. It was just like a really good, like, archetype for a black man. So I really was interested in that one. And the Inhumans, because Black Bolt, he couldn't open his mouth without destroying things. And that was awesome. And the Punisher was always a fun one. So I got all these things. I didn't know the creators on Daredevil, but I did know Kevin Smith. I had, because I liked watching movies. And I had gotten into Kevin Smith. And Kevin Smith's got his own little universe of movies, and has gone on to do more things that are very interesting and cool and worth your time. I've been impressed by the other things that Kevin's made. People, like, really haven't given him the time of day on a lot of these other creations of his, but I think they're great worth people's time. He's really brilliant. And you know that if you were following him. But I understand he's been a little bit, like, running his mouth in the mainstream, but the interesting indie movies that he's done, like, for himself, like, he's remained relevant. He's a cool creator. So I was like Daredevil, Kevin Smith, and the art on Daredevil, like, the covers looked really nice, but I didn't know Posada and Jimmy Palmiotti or any of these names. I didn't know who Paul Jenkins was. I didn't know who any of these creators were. Christopher Priest. Now, I know who those creators were. I would follow those guys' work. Christopher Priest, great, consistent. You go read 99% of Christopher Priest's work. I think you probably have to read it. He's really great. He was the only person who did a good job on Deadpool after Joe Kelly left the book. Everybody else who came in to the book fumbled the ball. Even creative people that I generally like Gail Simone. Sorry, Gail, I like you, but sorry, you didn't get the character really. You didn't give the fans of the character what they wanted. It was very weird when you did. I mean, Christopher Priest kind of threw everybody off because the very first thing he did in his run was he threw out all of Joe Kelly's ideas, and he just kind of did what he wanted to do. And he's funny and brilliant enough that he can just do whatever he wants to do, and he's great. But the other creators who came afterwards, Jimmy Palmiotti, who I like a lot, I love him as a person. Creatively, sometimes I really like him, sometimes I don't find him to be the best. But does good work often enough that I was surprised. I was hopeful that he would be good for Deadpool. I mean, really, and like it was just like one after another. Frank Thierry, and like just people, they were not able to capture about Deadpool what made Deadpool great. And Gail Simone has written plenty of characters that I cared about. That's the example. I'm just saying. Really, people struggled, but Joe Kelly, and it's just, and this is why I sometimes read some of these other creators, and I always read Joe Kelly. And I got to follow Joe Kelly on the Superman after my friend Greg Averback, shout out to Greg Averback, got me the Batman. And I really loved Batman. And then I started reading the Justice League because Batman was on the Justice League, and then there was all these other characters on the Justice League, and I was really appreciating them from some of the great Justice League stories I read. And then I was able to go over there. When I read JLA, which was by Grant Morrison, oh my goodness, Grant Morrison is an incredible writer. I was like, I will read everything Grant Morrison writes. If you read everything Grant Morrison writes, you're a lucky one. If you read everything Jeff Johns writes, for the most part, you're a lucky one. He did, I'll just warn you away from maybe two things. A lot of people don't necessarily love some of his the Superman that he did when it was monthly. I remember that being a little weak. But at least the beginning of his New 52 Justice League was fucking awful. Don't do that. But Green Lantern, Rebirth, and everything that came after that, even like all the ancillary titles and associated titles, oh my God, it's amazing. Green Lantern. The Flash, his Wally West Flash that started before they noticed he was great. His Avengers run at Marvel is amazing. Recent things that he's done like Doomsday Clock and Three Jokers, amazing. He did some Hawkman and Justice Society of America. Jeff Johns is fucking awesome. Right now, he's got a company called Ghost Machine. I'm trying to promote it as a fan of his, as somebody who has seen him consistently make awesome shit. Let me hold these up real quick. This is like the preview book that has like bits of like all their stuff. The art is great, not just the covers. These cover artists are the artists. Guy, I've already been reading the first 6 issues of this, was great. This is like a new relaunch with the company. But Geiger's super cool. Radioactive, bad guy. Redcoat, I haven't been able to read these yet, but they look amazing. Brian Hitch is the artist on here. Brian Hitch is a great artist. I don't necessarily follow artists when it comes to comic books because they don't always have great stories. There are some artists who I will always follow, like Jason Fabok. I think he's earned it for me with the Three Jokers. The artwork in Batman Three Jokers was so insane. It's I saw somebody saying in the comics, that like the world of superhero comics, has not been what it was, and it's true, it has not been. But in the Merc, there are great things that come out. That last Ronin Ninja Turtles thing that came out was really cool. There are great independent works that come out, and really, you only find out about these things by noticing when you read a short story in an anthology that Jesse Blaze Snider was really good. Maybe I should follow some of his work. And there are lovely people who have noticed something relatively small, because a lot of people will only get one opportunity. I only did 2 things at Marvel, and like there's only so many people who noticed. And there's lots of great creative people where really, if you notice their work, you just gotta like follow it, because they did make more movies, and those movies were good. Just because it didn't get promoted doesn't mean it's not fabulous. There's so many great creators in comics that I have followed, because their work is incredible. And I'll list a bunch of them off in a second just to guide you a little bit if you are interested in reading some great comic books. Because these creators bring it every time. That's why I always read them. Warren Ellis is a fabulous writer. He really thinks outside the box. There's a book by him that I really love called Fell. Another book by him that I quite enjoy called Planetary. If you're kind of a negative person and you feel like you have a lot of negativity to blow off, he's got a great book called Transmetropolitan. Great stuff. I know all these things, and I know more because I read everything Warren Ellis puts out because I'm interested in him as a creative person. Let's see, some other people. I love Ed Brubaker. Ed Brubaker had a great run at Captain America. Everything that you loved about the Winter Soldier film is thanks to Ed Brubaker and what he did. You know, that character was considered dead. There'd be no cool way to bring him back. He was lame, and he would always be lame. And he changed all that with his story. And that storyline in those books is amazing. He does a book called Criminal. It's fucking awesome. I love Criminal. Especially love Criminal because of all the articles in the back, which I barely ever read these articles because I'm not that into the noir thing as he is. But I'm into his book, and I'm into his writing, and I'm into any presentation of the noir that he wants to show me because I think that he is brilliant. And I appreciate how much he appreciates this whole genre, this sort of entertainment. He is really an incredible creative person that is taking a genre that I kind of tend to find stilted and boring sometimes, that kind of noir thing or whatever. But he loves it. His version of it, I love, and I follow that all the time. And Greg Rucka is a buddy of his, and they're both into that kind of stuff. And I follow lots of Greg Rucka stuff. I'm forgetting the name of the damn book. There's like an agent, and she's individual. Whiteout, maybe it was called. Book I really liked. It was independent by him. Him and Ed Brubaker worked on a book at DC called Gotham Central. It was a favorite of mine. So good. Renee Matoya and Officer Hardback and Bullock and you know, it was really, really good. Highly recommend going back to find issues of Gotham Central. Anyway, there are plenty of other creative people. There are some artists that I will follow, like Art Adams and Dale Keown and Jeff Darrow. And some of these artists are actually writers themselves, like Steve Scroce and Jeff Darrow. I really like their writing as well. I think that they do a great job. Eric Larson isn't as great as he once was, but he was really incredible. There's a ton of great stuff to read from Eric, and there's a lot to like about things that he does to this day. Robert Kirkman's another one that's a great, you know, a lot of people have gotten into Robert Kirkman and or knew about Invincible. And he's done some other books that are really good. He's done some stuff at Marvel. It was really fun. Generally, I've enjoyed 99% of everything that I have read from Kirkman. I will give him a shot when he wants my attention. And I mean, this is the thing. You know, you go, that was great. I wonder if they've done any more. And you go and you look, and you find more. You know, if you look into Robert Kirkman, you could deeper. You battle, which is very fun. And there's other things. There's another one that I remember I liked. I don't remember it right off the top of my head. But I mean, I've read all these things. It's just like, dude, I've read so much. It's like, when you really have read a lot, it's hard to remember. Like, it's hard to remember all the books because, like, the really good ones are the ones that like fly to the top, and it's kind of better that way anyway. And it's like, you know, the best ones are the best ones. But I can say that even the things that I don't remember for any of these artists, you know, that I'm mentioning, or you know, aren't coming to the top of my head immediately, they were good. I've enjoyed following these artists. That's why I'm mentioning their names. So then, you know, going into the film world and TV world, you know, because that stuff kind of overlaps a little bit in a lot of different ways. There's so many wonderful leaders. You know, when I saw Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, that movie was incredible. I'm following Guy Ritchie ever since. When I saw Reservoir Dogs and Fiction, you know, as many people have been following Quentin Tarantino ever since. But also when I saw Desperado, I've been following Robert Rodriguez ever since. When I saw True Romance, which I saw because it was a Quentin Tarantino written movie, followed Scott everywhere. I realized that I've watched so many of his movies, and his movies are so beautiful. Tony Scott stayed there. Or Ridley Scott. Most of every Ridley Scott movie is ever made. The director's cut, fucking Kingdom of Heaven with Orlando Bloom, it's incredible. Highly recommend. Or, you know, I really loved and still love, there's a lot of actors that I'll follow, like Mel Gibson, who's gone on to be an amazing director. I really like Mel as an actor. I like I always felt like that personal connection with him, like similar to how I feel with Robert Downey Jr. And I'll watch, any Robert Downey Jr. movie I watch. And for me as a writer, I feel like everything there's always something to learn from it. And if I have like any reason to like the thing, it makes it so easy for me to just get into it. So I mean, getting into the work of Paul Newman has been one of the most rewarding experiences in my life. Some of my favorite movies, like Slapshot, which is one of my favorite sports movies. If you're a hockey fan at all, or just like sports films, oh my God, Slapshot is hysterical. Paul Newman's the best. Cool Hand Luke, great movie about living on a chain gang. That's where that line, "What we have here is failure to communicate." That's from Cool Hand Luke. Me wanting to be the coolest geek alive, Cool Hand Luke. That's part of it. That movie. Love that movie. And so many great Paul Newman movies. He's a great guy. Like the Newman Zone dressing that a lot of people know him from. He became a race car driver later in his life, and also started a charitable foundation, this Newman's Own salad dressing thing that lives on to this day and makes lots of money for charity every year. Dude was the dude of my heart. I fucking love Paul Newman. And Mel Gibson has gone on to direct some incredible movies. Oh God. I mean, I'll watch him in anything because I really like his performances, and like I said, I like him in movies. But the things that he's written and worked on, with the exception of, and I got to talk to him one day, because Passion of the Christ is just way too much for me. I love Jesus, but I hate this thing of we need to show Jesus being mauled, hurt so badly, and literally my ex-wife was my girlfriend at the time. She just sobbed under my arm for the whole movie, and I was just crying, why do I have to watch this? Why can't we talk about how you should turn the other cheek? It was fucked up, man. I really could not get behind that movie. But Apocalypto is incredible. Braveheart is incredible. I really have to rearrange my movies because I think this movie is one of the greatest movies of all time for me, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not sure if I'm going to get the title right. It's something Ridge, Heartbreak Ridge, or something like that. It was with the second Spider-Man, and oh my goodness, he's the conscientious objector, and he saves all these guys. He saves the other side, and they're killing them when he brings them back. And oh my God, it's the most moving movie I've ever seen in my life. I mean, Braveheart, my third favorite movie of all time. I love Braveheart. I think is I've just never seen a more powerful movie. I kind of feel I gotta move the Princess Bride out of the way. The dog, I'm not gonna love the Bride, but oh my God, it's just so meaningful. So it's so good. In case you're wondering, my top 5 favorite movies: Princess Bride, Tombstone, Braveheart, Iron Man, and probably Rocky, the Rocky franchise. I love that. Not Rocky 5 or the shit that came after that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, following directors and writers, there's a brilliant guy. I just, because of the internet, you don't necessarily have to remember everybody's name all the time. It's McDonough. He wrote the movie In Bruges. In Bruges is fucking brilliant. In Bruges is brilliant. And he's written a lot of other interesting movies as well. I think he recently wrote that thing with the guy where his friend, he's I don't want to be your friend anymore. And he cuts off his fingers and he throws them at the door. It was a crazy movie. My girlfriend didn't really enjoy it, and I can't say that I loved it, even though there was things to talk about leaving the movie. And but I enjoy being a part of this creative person's journey, and it's interesting having seen his other movies and enjoyed some stuff. There's somebody that I got into very quickly, Sam Rockwell. When I saw Galaxy Quest, he stole the show in Galaxy Quest. If you've never seen Galaxy Quest, it's a great movie. Fabulous parody of basically Star Trek. It's delightful. One of my faves. And you know, like top 100 movies of all time kind of thing. And he steals the show in that movie, Sam Rockwell. And it just made me want to see him in everything. And so, like, you know, like that's somebody who, like, all of a sudden I started digging for his movies. And Anton Yelkov or something like that. He's the guy who plays Chekhov in the Star Trek franchise. I love that guy. He did a movie, Robert Downey Jr.'s in it. He plays like the principal of his school. I forget what the movie's called. If you go look into his like IMDb, you'll find it. It was great. It was like a Ferris Bueller's Day Off kind of thing. He was helping all these kids and like him just kind of being himself and being rewarded for being himself. It was wonderful. Like from movies you'll ever see, and maybe you just want to see every movie that he ever did. Especially after he died, I was like, oh man, I still haven't seen all the movies that he's done. He's great. You know, there's a ton of people that are really awesome, and it bothers me that I can't like retain every single name as I'm jumping from one category to another. But you know, it's a lot of names. So let's see, because there's so many other places, you know, where we can do this. Now, Jim Henson and Creature Shop, by following the Creature Shop that was providing creature effects for all of these movies, I got to learn about a ton of movies that had great creature effects. I love creature effects. So what did I do? I was following a creature effects shop. You know, you follow Ray Winston and people who like do creature effects, you'll find out about little independent movies that are using great creature effects. If you find out about, I mean, you know, it's the same thing with like bands. Like when you find a band, usually I do like, if I've heard 3 songs from them that I really like, I'll go and I'll dig deeper. But I also let the internet bring me music, you know, when I've like plugged in some things that I like and let them recommend stuff and find other bands. But like I'll get into it. There's a band that I just did an episode of All Your Favorite Bands Suck On, which I do that show every Monday night at 8 now on the live stream, 8, 11, you know, 2 time zones. I just covered Rise Against last week. And what was I talking about? Oh fuck, my damn teeth are making it hard for me to like have continuity with my thoughts sometimes. It's distracting me because they're a bit uncomfortable. Forgive me. I'm just gonna get myself back on my thought track. I was talking about Jim Henson, and I was talking about following creature effects, and different things like that. So I don't know what I told you about. Oh, with like different bands, like just you can go so deep. Like, you know, a band that is consistent will make consistent music, and if you like their vibes, they usually have a lot more to say. And it's like the way record labels present these bands does them a great disservice. You know, Nickelback's feeling that right now. Nickelback is an awesome band that is really like badass and cool and really make a lot of diverse type of music, and they are a worthy band to be out there making money. And like my father apparently met Chad Kroeger recently, and he was like sort of like making excuses for himself a little bit. And when I heard that, I was like, what? Like, gotta defend this man's honor. They're great. And like really like there's like this silly thing of like they're this one hit kind of one note band, and it's not true. The internet has like eaten them alive with a thing or two, but there's really no basis for it. It's just like a very myopic look at what they're doing, and deeper into their catalog, deeper into their albums, there's so much great stuff. You know, if you like a few AC/DC songs, go listen more. There's so much great stuff. You know, if you like Ace of Spades by Motorhead, go dig into their catalog. There's so much great stuff. You know, there's a reason why these bands are considered, you know, whatever. And I think a lot of people have a very superficial understanding of most of them. And, you know, that's why I do the All Your Favorite Bands Suck show. You can check out the podcast. I've done like 20-something episodes now just featuring all these different bands that I really like, helping you to get into them more. And that's really what I'm trying to help you guys do today. Get into some of these things a little bit more deeply. You know, my love of Walt Disney, you know, and Walt Disney Animation made me appreciate who that man was and what he was doing. My love of the Warner Brothers cartoons made me, you know, dig into that assembly line of how they were making such great entertainment and all the great creative people who were all there. And, you know, Mel Blanc, who was doing all the voices, and, you know, just so many different people who were producing all of these cartoons. I remember there was a Warner Brothers store. It used to be dedicated to honoring them in a really nice way. I love that. It was really cool because there's a lot of people we have to thank for the greatness of not fucking Space Jam and stuff, but the old school Warner Brothers cartoons, which are awesome. You know, they're great things to find, and you can find other things that Chuck Jones and Mel Blanc have worked on, and dig into other things in the world. Pixar has been an easy one for people, and John Lasseter. You know, John Lasseter was the head of Pixar. He had a little bit of extra steam on him by his association with Steve Jobs, who's another person who I was following anything Steve Jobs was doing. A lot of people are following anything Elon Musk does, you know, and that's a good strategy. Find somebody that you key up with and you're like, this works for me, and follow them, you know. And I mean, you don't follow them like they're God or anything, but just, you know, be on their butt. One, they really need it and they will appreciate it. Every creative person is being dicked around by the system, and like they don't get any power until there's so much noise behind them of how much you love them, how much people love them, that they get more creative power to make better things. You know, so, you know, supporting the creative people that we really like, the Peter Jacksons of the world, and the Guillermo del Toros, you know, and Guillermo del Toro, you know, when I saw Blade 2, I was like, oh my God, it was so good, it was so beautiful, I loved how it was shot, so many things. And I started watching all the other Guillermo del Toro movies, and a lot of people haven't seen some of the great Guillermo del Toro movies. They're like, you know, smaller, mid-budget horror movies, and in Spanish, and they're great. And you know, I love Guillermo, and like I said, even when creators are so great, like Tim Burton, who I really think is very miss, you know, he's like, you know, he occasionally hits, I think he kind of hit more back in the day, and occasionally he'll hit, you know, on a level or two, but his things are always interesting in his way, and it's sort of fun to follow him and see what he's doing now. Okay, this is interesting. I like this, you know, and I kind of say it because it's like, it's really the journey that I'm suggesting that you go on with all creators of every variety, you know, really trying to follow along with what they're doing. You know, for me, oh my God, there's just so many people who I follow. You know, like the Dave Simon, the creator of The Wire. I'll watch anything he makes. You know, The Wire has proved to me that he's just like one of the most brilliant people ever. You know, the guy who produced The Shield and went on to produce Sons of Anarchy. You know, generally, I'll watch anything he does. You know, I think he's very, very, very brilliant, creative person. If I hear John Cleese wrote something new, I'm like, okay, cool, I'll check that out. John Cleese did it. All right. Any of these comic book people. And it's really cool because I can come into comics when comics suck right now, and I can just pick a couple things that I haven't had a chance to read because a few of my favorite creators have put out some stuff. You know, Grant Morrison hasn't been not writing anything, I'm sure. Jeff Johns, I've read some Jeff Johns stuff during like my time where I haven't been reading as many comics. And, you know, the comics that I have read have been really exceptional because I know who to follow. I know who to read. And it can be very easy for you to do that too. Just, you really just gotta like this and be grateful and try to follow that artist and be encouraging. And it's never been easy to really follow people's careers. And like I said, a comic book website called Comic Vine that generally has like everybody's credits. And then there's the movie website, IMDb, which will give you everybody's movie credits and TV credits. I mean, and then I'm sure there's the same thing for books somewhere as well. So I really think that the importance for great creators to be supported has never been greater. You know, I was showing you the Ghost Machine books from Jeff Company. There's a real change going on in the entertainment industry, and I really think a lot of the power is shifting back to the creative people. And if you want the brilliant people who make the great art to rise to the surface, you gotta support them. You know, just creatively, you know, go out and get those Ghost Machine books if if you're into Jeff Johns, or if you just want to take my recommendation for it. He's great. Go out and see the Guy Ritchie movie that he made, you know, which I'm trying to see. I haven't had a chance to see it yet. But because you want to send a message to the studio that you want them to keep giving him money and keep making movies. I love The Gentleman. I hear this Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare is not quite as good, but like, I like him. I really like following his career, and I've enjoyed so many of the movies that he's made, and I'm really glad he's around making things. you know, and that's kind of like, you've got to vote with your dollar. And when you don't support these people, a guy named Joe Cornish who made a movie called Attack the Block. I love that movie. I try to support any Joe Cornish movie. You know, there's tons of directors and artists where I'm like, oh, that's the guy who did that? Yes, absolutely. You know, and I pay attention to that. You know, who, even if I don't necessarily know somebody by name or anything, where I'm just like, ooh, I like that. That's the guy who he did that. I will go check that out. You know, and I try to find out, you know, what's coming out, like, you know, whatever else when I can. But in this day and age, it's very easy with indie films, indie documentaries, indie anything to fly right under your nose. So, you know, really, I beg you all to start paying more attention and being a part of the system. Be a consumer with real, genuinely good taste, because it's so great for you to actively like key in on what you like, so that you can articulate it, so that the things can be better, so that there's more people in the world saying, I like this and I like it for these reasons, whatever else. And a lot of that tends to come from, I saw a few of their movies. And between these movies, I read a few of their comics. Between these comics, I went, oh, you know what? I see the through line. I see what I really love about them. I see what's turning me on about the creative person. And especially if you want to be a creative person yourself, or if you just consider yourself like a study of the creative arts, it behooves you to just really honor all of the great creative people that you find. Because one, you don't learn as much when you're just kind of a little slapdash of things coming to you. And when you do the things coming to you thing, you basically give all of your power to the system. And the system is now responsible for schooling you on entertainment. And I'm telling you, this is true. Every single artist that you know, from the Foo Fighters and Lady Gaga or Taylor Swift right now, because like you've seen them in the press a lot, I promise you, money put them there. A strategic effort put them there. And it just never happens otherwise. Everything else is like minor league players. You have to get made. It's a whole freaking stupid system. I know, because I've been inside it for a very long time. But it's not the sort of apparatus that you imagine. And that is really, truly why when somebody shows up on your radar, it's great. Don't let them slip away. You know, write down their name. Go dig into them on Spotify. Go dig into them on YouTube. You know, try to get more of an idea about who this artist is. They probably have some incredible things that you're going to want to see. You know, I mean, mostly with all of these creative people that I've followed, you know, Greg Rucka and Jeff Johns, I mean, 99%, you know, 99% of everything that I've ever read from them or dealt with from them, it was great. I was just like, I'm so glad that I read this. I'm so glad to be able to share it with Brother Shane. I gave him piles of all my favorite comics, tons of Greg Rucka stuff and Ed Brubaker stuff and Grant Morrison stuff and Jeff Johns stuff. I gave him all the best stuff, man. And a lot of it was from following some of these creators. So, I mean, he would see names over and over again. It wasn't like he would see a name once and then not, because I didn't, if the creators were good, I wasn't sharing it. And I mean, that's really the thing with you. Like, if the book's not good, you're not reading it. You know, it's going to be slow. You know, getting through reading things and doing all this stuff, it is very difficult. It's funny, I see in the comments, Lyle was saying that he loves my music, which I so appreciate, but it's not an Apple Music anymore. Actually, if you type in Jesse Blaze, you can find a lot of my stuff now. There's a Jesse Blaze Snider that is an old link that I don't have access to, and Jesse Blaze I do have access to, and I've got a lot of stuff through Jesse Blaze, including the old Baptized by Fire stuff and a whole bunch of different things. Anyway, I love you guys. I love artists, you know, and it's so funny because like that's ultimately what I've realized all my shows are about, like to some degree. I mean, granted, my Friday show is going to be a little different. I'm doing this really interesting kind of spiritual, esoteric knowledge, quantum physics, otherworldly, next level, the stuff the Freemasons are teaching you, or teach you, and I'm really excited about that. But my other shows are just me gushing about things that I love, and that's really like, I love this, and I just want to share it with more people. help more people get into this stuff. I had a little company that I made for a little while called I Don't Know Shit About Comics. And it was like a free information booth at comics, and I'm actually going to bring it back with my publishing company, Black Legends Studios, to conventions. And we're going to like give out pamphlets. Like, here, if you want to read Batman, start with these books. If you want to read Spider-Man, start with these books. You know, just like recommendations and like cool stuff to help people get into the hobby. Because for a lot of people, it's a bit like hard to get in. But if you take this approach of, you know, I got my eyes out for the people who are great, and I see them. Once I get the ones and I'm like, ooh, this one, this one, this one, I write down their name or remember their name or whatever else, and I keep coming back to the well to see what they have to offer next. Or I go back, you know, if I get that great band, I go back and I see what was their last album like. Oh yeah, do they have anything for that? Awesome. Whatever. All right, cool, Geeks. I love you. Really appreciate you coming out to this. Was my second live stream of the Coolest Geek Alive. Very cool. I'm excited to do Sunday again for the second time with AARON SPARROW for episode 104 of the Coolest Geeks Alive for the weekend episode. I think he and I are going to be talking about the Ghost Machine comics. We're going to try to read through them, and the X-Men 97 animated series, which was really great. He hadn't had a chance to watch it yet. There's only one episode left on Wednesday. I'm excited to watch it. And we're going to talk about that and a couple other things. We're going to eventually be having some guests on that show, but we're just starting to like get our shit together and get our schedule going. But that's cool. And you can join me on Friday, same time, 12/3, for the Everything They Don't Want You to Know. The first episode is like going to be an introduction to sort of my life story. It's like a mind trying to develop on planet Earth, trying to learn what it was they needed to learn to best go through this life. Yeah. Anyway, next Monday, for All Your Favorite Bands Suck, even though the Rise Against episode isn't out yet, it'll probably today or tomorrow. But next week, I am doing Akon. I quite like Akon. Lonely, I'm so lonely, I have nobody for my own. He's kind of like a hip-hop R&B artist, but really did some cool things to break on through, and has some great albums and some great music that I'm going to recommend to you. So I will see you on Friday and Sunday and Monday. And this is my life now. Just like going like a little circle talking about all these great things. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Lyle and Angela and Colby and all that. And if you guys hang out for a second as I wrap up just like the show for the podcast, I will speak to you. Anyway, I love you. And if you're just doing this podcast thing with me, thank you so much. 103 episodes. This is awesome. This is awesome. And I couldn't do it without you guys listening and being here. If you want to join us for the live streams, again, these are going to be every Wednesday at 3 noon LA time. Anyway, I love you guys so much. I will see you next time on another fucking awesome episode of The Coolest Geek Alive. Bang. All right. So I'm closing that thing. What up, guys? I'm just going to read these comments real quick. Say hello to everybody before I get out of here. Juggernaut. I should load up Juggernaut for close. Should I close the show with Juggernaut? Get a preset video file. There it is. All right, I'm going to close out the show with you. You're not supposed to play that. Move. There we go. All right, we'll close it out. Okay, let's see. Leather Bound Complete Collection, very old, literally deteriorated. Now I own the complete Shakespeare and hardcover. Oh yeah, I had a girlfriend who had the like a really nice complete work of Shakespeare thing. It's interesting too because now like I'm not so sure even if Shakespeare is even a guy. Like I'm like I have a lot of questions about whether or not Shakespeare is multiple people and like all these different things. But I did enjoy the hell out of every Shakespeare play that I ever read. And I've read at least like 6 of them. I don't remember which ones. There's something I wanted to read. Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, The Taming of the Shrew, What's the one with the fairies? I think I read that one. Midnight Summer's Dream. I remember his history teacher in high school tried to teach us students at the time about Shakespeare. Another one is Charles Darwin and a few other ones. Yeah, Shakespeare's a good one. The only thing with Shakespeare is you just gotta like get out of your head about like understanding everything that you're reading all the time. Just like sort of make some peace. Like it's, you know, I'll get it. You know, don't get all hung up. Well, hello there. Jesse, what superhero has a lack right now and needing to be remade? Question for later. Oh, I mean, all of the superheroes right now are awful because they've just the whole DEI initiative of like kind of forcing a lot of politics into the measure with the arts. One of the big problems that it's doing is it's putting an emphasis on sexual relationships. And in comics, especially, there's sexual relationships are not really important. Like every single Peter Parker moment that has ever been important would have gone exactly the same way had Harry J been Mark Jacob, some dude, you know, like if he had a boyfriend and, you know, because the relationship works at like a point of care and concern. It's like somewhere where we end the story, and then he made it to the ice cream shop for the date. And we don't have to see the date. The date isn't important. Not anymore. The date is very important now. You know, what everybody's doing in their pants and with their pants behind closed doors is very important now. The superficial aspects of the character are very important now. They've made the focus away from the missions. You know, like it's like in a proper like adventure story, it's not all the minutiae that we don't like. People like me care about. Like I don't care about what they did at home for breakfast. You know, and sometimes that stuff can be played really cutely and it can be good, but mostly it's really just about like the things that are difficult and the stuff that's on the line and like, you know, where the adventure part of the life is coming from that they're having that you don't personally have. Like that's like the best bit. So, you know, the more they make them more soap opera-y, more about their relationships, I'm bi, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other, actually takes a major sort of thing of seriousness out of the room. You know, when you're in a room and somebody's sort of like winking at you and that you know the other person might be open to the wink, and now all of a sudden there's like sexual tension in the air instead of the moral tension, which really what stories are about. So it really corrupts the material in a lot of different subtle ways that like, I don't think people even understand, like really like changes the fundamental nature of where our focus is, how these stories are being told, and damaging. I think very damaging, and the majority of the characters could use a lot of rearranging in that regard and simplification. I will say that I think that Thor has been due for a rewriting for a long time. To be a man of less words and you know, to say nay a lot and to play up his barbarian nature a bit and make him a superpowered Wolverine, you know, which is like right there, but he's just been like kind of too clean cut. And when you tear down a man like that, as low as they've torn him down, I think it would be very appropriate to do something really like brutal with him. It could be very cool, you know, just like a superpowered Conan. Thanks so much, EJ71, for coming down. What up, Angela? What up, Burns? Nice to see you guys. And I did send him your number, Brian. Tim Burton stuff all connects if you really look. Yeah, I don't think I've like dug in too deep into it, but it's just a lot of his narrative choices as like a storyteller. I don't think they're very good. Like for me, I really need things. I need my world to make sense, and often his does not make sense to me. Yeah, I talked about the Apple Music thing. Look up Jesse Blaze, you'll find a lot of stuff. That'd be the coolest geek. Well, I just did the episode last week of how to be the coolest geek. This is how to love, the arts. Get it all done. 2 hours on Apple. There used to be a lot more. Yeah, maybe there was more. But there's more than 2. There's Blacklight District. There's Slip. There's Come With Me If You Want to Live. And there's one other thing. Baptized by Fire. All right, guys. I love you. Thanks so much for coming down to the show. This every Wednesday for Coolest Geek Alive and Friday for the Everything I Want You to Know. And I've got that cool Fucking For Our Future book that is going to be coming to Kickstarter in just a little bit, but signing people up with occasions and shit and sending out ads. All right, I'm going to close with Juggernaut. See you guys later.
Fun. Meat.
It doesn't seem to be playing the video. I'm trying to get it going. Let's see if I can get it going.
You're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You ain't getting out without messing your face. Stick around for a while, have a nice taste. If you like it, you're in the right place. Now push yourself to the limit, then push it back again. Give it all you can give it, that's how you win it, my friend. Take every inch, don't give them, giving it you take it. Every sky you win, of every back you break. You can't slow me down, I'm unstoppable. Can't cover me up, I'm unstoppable. You can't figure me out of everything I'm not. Out of my way, I'm juggernaut. It's an uphill battle, though you might not win. And if you get knocked down, you must begin again. So pull the wool of your eyes, 'cause you're the cover you cry. It's a fucking surprise when you're the breathing alive. You're stuck between a living and a dying. And if I said it wasn't tough, I'd be lying. You came so far from so long, you still survive it. You're gonna rock 'em or die trying. You can't slow me down, I'm unstoppable. You can't cover me up, I'm unstoppable. You can't figure me out of everything I'm not. Out of my way, I'm a juggernaut.
Don't want you how it really is, don't need your true reality, because the truth shall be whatever we decide the truth shall be. We got a mind over a matter, it's so easy to deceive, 'cause it's not what's true, it's what we believe.
You can't slow me down, I'm unstoppable. You can't cover me up,
It's what we believe.
you can't figure me out of everything I'm not. Out of my way, I'm a juggernaut. You can't slow me down, I'm unstoppable. You can't cover me up, I'm unstoppable. You can't figure me out of everything I'm not. Out of my way, I'm a juggernaut. Stay out of my way, stay out of my, stay out of my way, stay out of my way, stay out of my, stay out of my way, stay out of my, stay out of my way. I'm a juggernaut.